Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the I Am Achie Podcast. I am your host, Achie McKeecher. It's so funny. I'm starting this off like I have never started in any of my other episodes because I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. If you could see me, you would be able to count every last one of my teeth because I am smiling here in my closet from ear to ear about today's episode. You guys are in for a treat. Firstly, today is my 1-year podcast anniversary. Like, it's been a whole year. I cannot believe that an entire year has passed. This has been an amazing experience. It's been an adventurous ride, and it is only going to get better from here. Oh my gosh. And I decided that I want to start sharing the stories of successful women who have overcome limiting beliefs to get to where they are now. Because many times we see what we perceive as the finished products, but we don't know the story of what it took to actually get them to where they are now. And I'm not talking about just the physical work. That is a component, but I'm not talking about that. Here, I want to talk about the mental shifts that had to take place in order to elevate. And today is a kickoff of that content. Now, I had a mind-blowing, life-altering conversation with my amazing friend and powerhouse, Miss Stacey Flowers. It was so good that this episode is going to be broken up into 2 parts because we went for so long. It was amazing. When I say it was good, listen, you don't even know what you're in for. But before I dive in, for those who have never heard of Stacey Flowers and have no idea who this woman is, I want to read her full bio so you'll know exactly who you're listening to. Known for her captivating display of excellence and magic from the stage, Stacey Flowers is a powerful blend of energetic wisdom, charisma, and sharp intellect. Determined to build a life of success and incomparable happiness, after becoming a teenage mother, Stacey was first a student of what she teaches now. Her personal charge is simple: to influence amazing people to be more amazing. As a speaker, coach, entrepreneur, and eternal optimist, she has a reputation for inspiring personal revolutions of change and unapologetic boldness in people around the world. Stacey's self-development approach promotes creating change from the inside out, leaving audiences as intimate as 10 to as large as 10,000, feeling educated and liberated with her truth and tactics. Stacey's work has reached more than 50 countries with a wide range of audiences, from leaders in Rwanda to creatives in Sydney to executives in London to students and professionals all across America. The 5 People You Need to Be Happy, her TEDx talk that amassed over 1.2 million views on YouTube, delivers the best of both worlds: compelling storytelling that emotionally connects and insightful truths that birth a desire for more wholehearted, intentional living. The Stacey Flowers brand is distinguished by her uncommon talent for addressing issues of humanity with a deep sense of compassion and practicality that encourages individual transformation. She's appreciated by her 250,000 online community, most for her fresh, unechoed perspective and relatedness. Her business acumen and savviness are supported by her master's degree in human resources from Loyola University, Chicago, and bachelor's in paralegal studies from the College of St. Mary. Chicago, Illinois, her favorite city in the world, is home. Time with family, delectable food, tempting wines, brilliant books, and Beyonce concerts are how she loves to relax and recharge. Off the stage, her greatest teacher and deepest source of pride is her adult son, Rakim. So ladies, without further ado, here is my conversation with Stacey Flowers. Hi there, I'm Achie, speaker, coach, and entrepreneur. I'm also a wife and mom to the Seans, my brilliant hubby, Sean Sr., and my vivacious toddler, Sean Jr. I am a perpetual student to this thing called life, and boy, has life taught me some lessons. What I absolutely love is helping you to identify and debunk the limiting beliefs that cause you to hide from your awesomeness. It's time to reprogram your thinking. So settle in, get comfy, and let's girl talk. Just you and me. This is the I Am Achie Podcast. Okay, so So, welcome to I Am Achie Podcast. Today, I am super duper excited for multiple reasons. Firstly, today is my 1 year anniversary of the I Am Achie Podcast, and I am through the roof excited about this. What I'm going to start doing starting now, this new year of podcasting, is bringing on guests to the podcast. Once a month, I want to interview amazing women who are successful in their businesses and their careers. And I want to talk about the limiting beliefs that they have had to identify, debunk, overcome, whatever it is, even swim in it for a while for them to get to where they are. And my first guest, I'm so excited, is an amazing friend of mine. I read her bio in the beginning of this episode. I'm going to let her introduce herself. And this is my great friend, Stacey Flowers, and the crowd claps. Stacey, hello, Stacey. Oh my gosh, how are you?
I am amazing. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I do appreciate it. You said you want me to introduce myself. So if I were to introduce myself, I would say that I am a woman who is blooming into the person that I always dreamt of being. And what that sort of means for me right now is that, I'm the mom of a young adult. My son is a college freshman, and that is always something that I wanted to be from the perspective of making sure that my son graduated from high school and went to college. I am a dog mom to the cutest Pomsky in all the land.
So cute.
Dog mom for just a little bit. Got him when he was a puppy. So it's been amazing. I am dating an incredible human, and that is very exciting. I am building a beautiful, sexy body. I'm doing some things. I'm building a beautiful, sexy body. I am, practicing excellent mental hygiene with like my coach and my therapist. I am building the company of my dreams. Currently, it's a 6-figure company that I get to run part-time. I'm literally spending most of my weekends and a lot of my weekdays with some member of my family or friend group. And it's literally the woman I've always dreamed of being.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And one of the reasons why I wanted you to introduce yourself is because outside of the amazing bio that I read, sometimes people can hear those things and they just believe that people just arrive there automatically. They don't understand the things they have gone through. They don't understand that people are just people.
Yeah.
It's just regular people with accomplishments. You know what I mean? And another reason why it is so significant to have you on today on my 1 year anniversary podcast anniversary is because you are the person that I nervously whispered that I wanted to start a solo podcast to. And I remember, I'm like, Stacey, we're on the phone at the point we're on the phone for like hours. And every time we talk, it's like, I just had these random confessions that pop up. I'm like, I have a confession. And you're like, what is it? First of all, why are we whispering? Second of all, I was like, okay, I think I want to start a podcast. And at the time I was doing a podcast with my best friend. And I think we had both knew that it was coming to an end. Nothing had happened. We're still best friends. We're still, great, sisters. But it's like our schedules just start getting really hectic. And, she has a busy life. I have a busy life. And it's almost like it was the message that we were teaching at the time was coming to a perfect close, right? And again, nothing wrong, no drama, but it was like a perfect, peaceful close. And a part of me wanted to keep it going. The other part was like, man, it's really hard to do this right now. And then I was also going through so much transition. So I also needed to step back. And she was going through some transition. It was just so much, but it's like, I still have some things to say. So I took a break. We both took a break and we were like totally fine with it. It was actually a bit of a relief because we were also recording those podcasts in 2 different states, her in Georgia, me in Florida, and having to get, schedules and things and everything together. But then when it was time for me to start another podcast, because I'm a speaker, I know I need to be speaking and talking. And it's just, I've always gotten in trouble in school for talking. I've always loved talking. So it's like, if I'm not talking, I'm not doing something wrong. I'll just say that. I just need to be talking. I just need to be talking. And I knew when it was time to start another podcast, but I was so nervous about it.
And I was like, man, well, this is my third podcast. I started a solo podcast, then I had a podcast with her. And I'm like, I have another podcast I want to start. Like, okay, Achie, this podcast business is getting a little ridiculous. How many podcasts are you really going to start and stop? You know, everyone's going to be like, what is she doing? And I just had all this bubbling in me. And I'm like, Stacey, I have a confession. I'm like, I want to start a podcast. Like, I'm afraid that I didn't start one. You're like, oh, is that your confession? She's like, go into your strategy mode. She has a brilliant strategy brain, guys, and strategic brain. And here we are. Like,
100 episodes.
54 episodes later.
A year later, 54 episodes. Mind blowing. Especially where the conversation started with respect to like your fears about transitioning from the podcast that you did with your best friend. And then just again, like how you were saying, doing another podcast because you have done others. It's amazing what you can do when you put your mind to it.
So speaking of such, that is a great segue because another reason why you were here, if you all do not know, Stacey is also a very prevalent YouTuber. I will say that. She's a popular YouTuber. And a great thing about her YouTube channel, she talks about her financial journey and how she is on a journey to become debt free and how she started off with making $800 a month. And now she's making $20,000 a month. And I wanted to bring her on because, okay, there's this, misconception that the minute you get money, your life is perfect. You have no problems. All the issues you had are gone. You're just magically healed. And people don't understand that limiting beliefs pop up on every level at all times. And depending on the level you're on, different types of limiting beliefs pop up. And you recently did a YouTube video about your feelings around now earning $20,000 a month. And I just wanted you to talk about this because what limiting beliefs have you had to overcome to $800? Like, think about this, guys, $800 a month. And you live in Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not like some you know what I mean? Like, you live in Chicago in a like poppin' city, like it's not cheap to live there, and to go to $20,000, like it's not just about the ability to make money, but it's about the mindset around that. You know what I mean? To go to incrementally increase on those levels. And so I just want you to talk about the different limiting beliefs you've had to overcome and like how you did it to get to where you are. And because I know you, this is still really just the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, friend.
Yeah, this is amazing. It's just, most people don't make $20,000 a month. A lot of people don't. There are a lot of people who do, but there are a lot of people who don't. So that can be a big deal for some people. But I know you're going a lot further. But I just want you to talk about that, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say, there were a couple different limiting beliefs, but I'll say the first limiting belief that I had to overcome was the limiting belief that making more money is what's going to make the difference. And I know that sounds like counterintuitive, but it's like there is this general idea that people have that if they make more money, it's going to be the thing that helps them make more money. It's going to be the thing to help them out of their circumstances. It's going to be the thing that changes the game. It's like that's actually a limiting belief because you're working. What happens internally is that there's this lack of enoughness that you're carrying because in your mind, it's only when you have more that things will be fine. So what actually the first belief that I worked on when I was at $800 a month is the idea that this was enough. Like, I was like, if this is it, if all you're making this month and there is no more money is going to come. And so when more money comes, that's when you'll clean ABC up. If this is it, what do I need to do now? So I shifted my mind from trying to make more money to overcome my circumstance to just managing the money that I made to overcome my circumstance. And most people don't want to work with that belief. Most people rather wait for their next promotion, wait for the job to change, wait for their business to pop off, wait for their big break. It's like, no, there is no such thing as a big break. There is no such thing as the promotion that's going to save the day. If you look at your life over the last decade, I tell a lot of people, if you look at your life over the last decade, if you made $50,000 or more in the last 10 years, you made $500,000 in 10 years. And if you didn't feel that $500,000, it's not the more money that's the issue. It's not the thing. It's the lack of managing money. So the minute I was willing to let go of the idea that more money is what was going to make the difference, that's when this whole other world of like, this just is the amount of money and you need to make this money work. And I come from a family where, you know, my mom knew how to make $1 out of 15 cents. So that was a little bit already in my sort of DNA in my system. But I didn't want the making the $1 out of 15 cents to be something that like ran me into the ground, that like encouraged me to stay sort of in this lack space. I wanted to take the idea that there's a way to stretch this $800 a month, or not stretch. There's a way to manage. That's what it is. There's a way to manage this $800 a month where I can have a quality of life that enables me to have enough stability to incrementally grow to more and more and more. And so when I looked at my $800 a month, I said, okay, well, these are the sacrifices that you now have to make because this is how much you're bringing in. These are the choices that you now have to make. These are the changes. And I sort of allowed myself to adjust to what I was actually earning because I was willing to release the idea that making more was going to solve all my problems. It's one of those tricky limiting beliefs that feels like it's a good one to have, but in reality, it keeps people broke. It keeps people, you know, it keeps people chasing a future that they're not going to be able to get to because they're not mastering the skill of management. The skill that took me from $800 a month working part-time to $20,000 a month part-time is managing money. I manage my $20,000 a month the same way that I manage my $800 a month because it's a habit.
That's good. That's good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that would be the first one. Do you want me to just kind of go through all of them, or did you have?
No, you just said something I'm like writing down. Mastering the skill of management.
Yeah.
And like you said, like, even at that low amount, most people wouldn't think they would need to manage it. But it's like, how do you, when you think about it, it just makes sense. Because how do you really survive off of that much if you're not tightly managing it?
Right. And here's the thing, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you could care less about managing $800, you think you're going to magically start caring about managing $20,000. First of all, that's not how it works, but that's also not how money works. Money goes where people like focus and pay attention to it. Like money is attracted to organization and management and so on and so forth. And so it's like, I needed to build the skill, like, right? Like I had been working on the muscle of handling this 20K for at least 2.5 years before the 20K came in. If the 20K would have come in before I had practiced the skill of management, it wouldn't be something that I would be able to repeat. It would be a fluke. It would be maybe 1 month, but now there's this consistent, persistent month because I practiced spending 20K when I was making $800. Like I looked at my $800 like, this is the salary. This just is the amount there. And it's not like I didn't have goals that were set for other amounts, but it wasn't like a goal that took me out of the space of honoring what was right in front of me and acknowledging what was right in front of me. And I think a lot of people do that as well. They don't want to look at where they're starting. And it's just like, no. Right. Look at where you're starting. It changes the game. If you can, because here's the thing, whether you decide to manage it or not, that's still all that's coming in.
Right. Correct.
That's
your management or lack thereof doesn't change the amount.
It does not change the amount. It doesn't change it at all. So you may as well manage it so that when more comes, you can handle that as well. And most people never get more because they don't look at what they have as enough. They don't look at what they have as worthy of attention. And it's because I paid attention to that amount of money that so much more money is now flowing in my life.
Wow. That's good. That is good stuff. Okay. So what's the next thing you would say?
I would say the next belief that I had to work on is limiting belief is you have to work hard for money. And this was a really, really hard one.
Let's speak on this. Let's speak on this. Yes. Come on, Stacey.
This was very, very hard because I come from a hardworking family. I'm Black. Our culture is known for being hard workers. And so what actually really helped me with this limiting belief is at the time when I was restoring my finances, I was also restoring my mental, physical, and emotional health. And so I literally couldn't work hard. And so my inability to be able to work hard forced me to consider that there has to be another way to make money because I don't have the capacity to work hard right now. I cannot work overtime. I cannot physically, mentally be focused on anything. At the time when I was at my sickest, like I really couldn't, my attention span was maybe a couple of hours. Like I just didn't have the capacity. So because I couldn't work hard, rather than going into a space of despair thinking, oh, well, then there's no possibility to earn more, I was like, no, there has to be another way because this way isn't available to me. So once I was willing to release the limiting belief that you have to work hard for money, I started looking for examples of people who, by my definition, weren't quote unquote working hard. And when I say working hard, I mean, labor type things. That to me, that is very hard work, right? I waited tables for a decade. There is fun and excitement that I have in waiting tables, but that is hard work to clean up and serve other people. It's a job that I'm doing both with my mind and my body. That is harder work. When I'm thinking of harder work, I'm thinking, when you're doing 8, 10, 12, 14-hour days back to back, that is hard work, whether you're doing that mentally or you're doing that physically. So when I'm speaking of hard work, or working second jobs or having a bunch of side hustles, it is hard work to, even if you work part-time in one place and you go to another place and you work part-time and you go to a third place, like switching your mind to be able to show up to all these places at 100%, that's hard work. And so when I'm saying hard work, however it is that you imagine hard work, I'm saying learning that money is not associated or connected to that, and then being willing to sit in the truth of that and examine my actual lived experiences, because I know hard workers who don't have a lot of money. So the idea that money comes from hard work, I'm living an example of it even before I made the money, that's just not true, but I didn't want to sit in the truth of it. So then I sat in the truth of it and I'm like, okay, if money doesn't come from hard work, where does money come from? How do you make money? And then that's when I began to examine and look for examples of people who, by my definition, weren't working hard, did not display, different levels of hard work. And so that's when I stumbled upon the idea that money comes from the exchange of value. So the more value you bring to the marketplace, the more money you can extract out of the marketplace. And so once that came in, I was like, oh, well, how do I make myself more valuable? How do I add more value to the marketplace? What does this look at? And I began to understand that I was being compensated for the amount of value that I offered to the marketplace. At the time, I was working part-time at a cafe as a barista. As a barista, there's a very specific, finite amount of value that I can offer in the marketplace with respect to the work that I'm doing. That is very different than the amount of value that I can offer to the marketplace as a professional speaker or as an author or as someone else who's doing, some other thing that's offering a little bit more value. And being able to distinguish my inherent value as a person and the value that I'm bringing to the marketplace, it was game changing. But again, that wouldn't even have been information that was available to me unless I was willing to sit down the idea that I had to work hard for money. So that came to my mind. And then also, once I sat down the idea that I had to work hard for money, I was flooded with general skill and gifts that I had. Like, I have a gift for being able to speak. I have a gift for being able to create a story, build a narrative, find a perspective, get a silver. That is a gifting. Like, you can put anything in front of me and tell me to go. And in a minute, I can give you a whole story about it. That is a gift. And it is easy for me to do that. So sometimes when I'm on stage, sometimes when I'm podcasting or YouTubing or whatever, I'm not working hard. So I was literally rejecting money that would come in from those avenues.
Oh, wow.
Because I wasn't working hard.
Oh, but man.
Yeah. As soon as I suspended the idea that you had to work hard for money, I started to let money come in from my YouTube videos because it was easy. Like, it was the easiest thing to me since sliced bread to turn on the camera and be like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing, so on and so forth. And when I first started doing it, people were like, what's your Patreon? What's your PayPal? How can I send you money? And I'm like, hey guys, I'm just documenting my journey. I don't need your money. That's okay. This is just fun for me. Like, I literally would not accept money that people wanted to send to me because it was easy, because I was working out of a flow. I was working out of a gifting. I was working out of a genius that I have inherently. Because if you have to work hard for money, you surely are not going to compensate me for just talking. you're surely not going to compensate me for just showing up on YouTube. Are you kidding me? So I was rejecting all of that. But the minute I let go of the limiting belief that you have to work hard for money, I was like, oh, well, if you don't have to work hard for money, what if just showing up and offering this value is enough for me to get money? And then once I started to see my YouTube content as value, I was like, oh, I can let money flow in through that. And if you go back to some of my older videos, you'll see that there was a pretty consistent, maybe 6 to 9 month period where the amount of money gifted to me was more money than I had actually earned from my part-time job. But in order for me
I didn't know that. Really, Stacey?
Yeah, like I think the most money that I had been gifted in a month was maybe like $1,500 to $1,800. Like just imagine random people on the internet saying, what you are offering me is so value, I'm going to send you this money. There was a woman in my community. She literally sent me a specific amount of money every single month for 2 years. Like, but there was a part of me initially that rejected that money because you have to work hard for money, and YouTube was easy for me. So I was like, oh, I don't want to make money from this. But then I was like, no, you're going to let yourself make money from this. You're going to figure out how to be comfortable with that. But that's one of those things is you believe that money comes from hard work. When you're doing things that are easy and big checks come in, you won't allow it. So after that belief, you have to work hard for money. The next belief that I had to overcome is, and I don't know how to state this in a limiting belief, maybe as I express it, it'll come up, but there was this idea too that money could only come from certain places, right? Like, so I could make money from my job, but I couldn't make money from people giving me gifts on YouTube. So there was when I would do my budget every month, I would say, you know, my salary from my part-time job, my salary from my company, and then gifts. And I would list it all under income. And people would be like, well, why are you listing gifts as income? That's not income. I said, income is money that is incoming into my life. So this gift of money, especially since it's not designated, is a part of the income that I'm managing for that month. But because I had a limiting belief that once upon a time said that money only comes from your job or from your business, I didn't allow gifted money to be perceived as income.
You are preaching today. This is so like, it's hitting me different. I know it's hitting my listeners because this is hitting me. Say that again. Once you release the belief that money only can come from like your business or your job.
Yeah, I started to allow any money that was incoming to be considered income. So whether it was a gift or whether it was like, say, you know how like with car insurance or something like that, they'll give you your rebate back. Like I started to call all of that income because it was incoming, and organizing money that flowed into my life as income then set me up to manage it like it was income. Because here's the thing that happens, right? Somebody gives you a gift. You're like, oh, that's a gift. That's not income. So you don't manage it. But that's
you squander
$1,500 that you're not managing. Right? Like you're not going to get more gifts unless you keep managing it. And when I say manage it, I'm not saying that you have to be stringent and you have to be super constrained. I'm simply saying acknowledging all of the money that comes into your life in a month, no matter the source. It was a limiting belief for me that the only money that actually mattered was from my job, from my pay stub, or from my business at the time. That is the only money that mattered. All the other money wasn't real. It didn't count. It wasn't consistent. It's like, no, any money that comes in this month, income, period. Like,
and you know, that makes me think, because even now with the times that we're in, and if you're listening to this in a future date, right now we are on I guess this is the first we're going into the second year of the pandemic. Well, I guess it's still the first full year. No. We're past the 1 year mark, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's stimulus checks going out, and people are getting, compensated for the hardship they've had to endure for this pandemic. And from this pandemic, and my husband and I have been talking about this because I don't judge what anyone does, but exactly what you just said, there are a lot of people who are not managing the money that's being gifted to them, because it's like, oh, it's just a gift. They're not viewing it as income. Right. So they're not managing it as income. It's like, oh, well, this is just fly by night, money. and they're not, because it's not on a, a pay stub from their job or their business, or, it's like, oh, well, this is just whatever, I'll do whatever. And again, not judging anybody's decisions, but it's like not treating it, not saying it can't be spent. Obviously it's going to be spent, but just treating it like income and managing it as such. That is good.
Right. And it's a psychological shift, because what would happen is I would so when I would get gifted money, so I'm just making up this month, I can't remember the specific month, but let's just say at my part-time job, I made $1,000 that month, and then I was gifted $1,500. I would say, oh my gosh, my income for this month is $2,500. That's almost double what I made last month. And people would try to correct me and be like, you didn't make that. You didn't earn that. It's just like, hear me when I tell you, if this money came into my life on some level, I earned it. You are confusing my earning port. You think my only earning port is my part-time job or this business. No, I have an earning
because
port
that's
from
their
my spirit.
limiting belief.
I have my earning port for my spirit, and earning port for my energy. Like, there are different ways that I can bring money into my life. And so I would allow myself to psychologically count that as growth in my income. Right. Even though it didn't come from my job, because it was all money that came in. And when you don't make that psychological shift, if your mind says money only can come from this source, then when money comes in from other sources, you will squander it, you won't manage it, and it won't grow. But I'm gifted. I mean, like one of the speaking engagements that I did, because I mean, obviously that was actual dollars and cents, but I remember one of the speaking engagements that I did, one of my swag bag gifts was a diamond necklace. I was like, what? Oh my God. Do I get diamond necklaces?
Yes.
Like actual, like full-blown diamonds. And I'm like, whoa, what kind of level of like flow is coming into my life that now my level of abundance, my level of prosperity, not only is it reflected in dollars and cents, but now it's being reflected in stones. And I was like, oh, this is there's
for
levels
something that comes easy for you.
For something that comes easy. But I had to do away with you have to work hard for money. There's only one source of my money, or I'm only allowing this job to be my source. Like anybody can give me money. I am open to all sources of income, period. And most people are not open to all sources of income. Sometimes in our relationships, we're not open to the source of like our partner giving us money. Sometimes we're not open to the source of like our parents giving us money, depending on the season of life that we're in. I am literally open to all sources. Whatever source would like to give me some money, go ahead. You can give me some money.
Okay.
But it was a very limiting belief that I had to drop to get there.
Okay, so I want you guys to take a deep breath and just inhale. And I'm saying that, I know it sounds funny, but seriously, because sometimes when you are downloaded with a lot of information that maybe is new for you, or it's like it's rubbing up against your own beliefs, it's like you have to literally take a breath to inhale and like, okay, this is new information. I'm going to allow this to process. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. And if this is your first time listening to the I Am Achie podcast, let me tell you what my personal definition of limiting beliefs is. A limiting belief is a continual thought and belief that you've learned or observed about yourself, others, or life that you accept and implement as truth that prevent you from becoming your full authentic self. So I wanted to give that definition in for those who are just now listening, or for the first time listening to my podcast, or for those who have been listening to me for a while, just to reiterate what that definition is. So when you hear her say these things, like this is serious. She and a lot of people, myself included, have believed, because of life experience, because of what our parents taught us, our grandparents, our teachers, books, whatever we've learned, society, that if money does not come from your paycheck or from your business, it is not income. It is not money that you should manage as income. It doesn't count. And how many of us have been stuck in that limiting belief that we operate as truth and have been allowing money to just sit on the table? Like, how much of our income could have been increased every month just by adopting the mindset you just said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And think about
honoring this.
What I said in the beginning of the episode, like, all of this is important. Like you hear, oh, $800 a month. Oh, now $20,000. Oh my gosh, she's lucky. Oh my gosh, she's perfect. But listen, do you hear the work that had to be done even from this point on? I mean, from the point of where she started to now of even shifting how she can receive money? Like people were just sending you money for turning on your YouTube video. What if you would have never shifted that belief of I'm allowed to make money easily? What if, Stacey, you would not be where you are right now?
No way. No way. And it was interesting because I had upgraded that belief. I had upgraded from the belief that money, the only source of money comes from my paycheck, right? I upgraded that belief. It was reflected in people sending me gifts. So then I remember when my income was around $5,000 a month and people were still sending me gifts. And in the comments, people would be like, well, now that you're making more, you shouldn't accept these gifts. And I'm like, yeah, but I was like, that is your limiting belief. So first of all, you have a belief that there's a certain amount of money that you make where you no longer should be gifted anything. But then also you have a limiting belief that this isn't a source of income for me, right? Like you won't allow someone to continue to sow into my life because you're like, oh, you are at a capacity now where you should no longer, because they were like, you are wrong for accepting this given how much money you make. And it's just like, think about the psychology of that. But the only way that you could think of it being wrong for me to accept this money, given this amount that I'm making, is if you don't understand that this person who's gifting me this, they're gifting it because of the value that I am putting out into the world. So this value isn't necessarily attached to an organization that they can say, here, organization, can you please transfer this money to Stacey? So they're saying, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to compensate her for this value. And the only way to do that is through a gift. But so many times we cut down sources because they're not formal or official. It's just like this, if I wasn't showing up every week, month, day, whatever, with content, with value, surely these gifts wouldn't flow in with my income at this level. But there is a reciprocity that's happening. There's this thing in nature, where you breathe in, you breathe out, you inhale, you exhale. That happens in your money too. So this person and these people in the comments who are like, you should give it back, you shouldn't accept it. I'm like, I cannot reject their response to the value that I am putting out into the world. Exactly. Because that is the reason why they're sending it. Because I guarantee you, if I wasn't showing up, they wouldn't be sending it. That's the way that it works. And if I wasn't managing it, it wouldn't continue to grow even at this level when I'm earning as much as I'm earning. Because people think, oh, well, once you get to a certain amount of money, no one should give you any more money. But if you think about it, it's typically the people who have met the amount of money where they can afford all of the stuff that they're being gifted, that they continue to get gifted more and more and more. But it's the psychology, it's the mindset. It's all income, all income.
I was just saying when someone said, you have enough, because they thought that you had reached capacity, because in their mind, possibly that was their capacity because maybe they hadn't got there yet. And in their mind, if I can make this amount of money, then I have made it. And she has done it. So this is the threshold. This is the capacity. Right. This is the point where no more can come in. That's a lie.
Yeah. And they thought that I was accepting the gifts because I was lacking in something. No, I wasn't accepting the gifts because I was lacking in something. I was accepting the gifts because I know that I was putting out something valuable. That's why it didn't matter how much I earned. I could be earning $1 million and people can still gift me stuff. Does that make sense? It's like, Absolutely. If you are connecting them gifting me money to me having low income, you are missing what I'm saying. They're not gifting me because my income is low. They are gifting me because my content is valuable, because my contribution is valuable. That's why whether I'm making $800 a month, $5,000 a month, or $20,000 a month, gifts still flow. I am open to money coming from all sources. You don't have to work hard for money. And I manage the money that comes in. But that's a psychological shift that you have to do, that you have to make, because that was everyone's perception. It's just like, oh, that's so wonderful. You're gifting her money. You're helping her out so much. It's like, that's one way to look at it. Or you can see this as a source that is offering more income to me. And that was the way that I perceived it. And that's why my experience with it was so positive. And my income didn't change their process of giving to me. Because they weren't giving to me because I was lacking. They were giving to me because I was valuable.
But just your awareness and your clarity, like, what if you weren't as clear on that?
Yeah. it would have been painful, right? Like it would have been a painful process to transition
and you would have
into
stopped
making
receiving
more
from people.
Right. I would have been like, I'm good now. I don't need your help. First of all, I didn't need your help when I was making 800 because my psychology was, this is enough. That is why I'm managing it. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, if I managed the $800 like this wasn't enough, then every gift would have been a handout. None of those gifts were a handout, which in turn kept me from ever being dependent on those gifts, which is the reason why my actual income in my business could continue to grow and my ability and capacity to receive more could continue to grow. But the typical psychology is, well, the 800 isn't enough. Oh my God, thank you so much for what you've given me. Please continue to give me more. And then you stay in this state of like, I'm not going to grow for fear that I'm going to cut off the hand that feeds me. No, this hand doesn't feed me. This $800 managed well feeds me at this level, that level. And so it doesn't matter who's giving the money to me, the company that's paying me to speak, the person who's watching a YouTube video, the job that I'm working for part-time as a barista, doesn't matter what the source is. But that is in your mind where that's happening. I don't want a relationship with people who give to me to be one of, this is a handout and I need their help. No, that's not what's happening here. I am receiving this as a reflection of the value and you honoring the value that I'm putting out. That's how I'm receiving it. Not as I need this and without you, how am I going to live? No, I was living fine. And you saw me in the YouTube video share with you how I was living. You chose to contribute more. I appreciate that. That is wonderful. But I didn't want to create that dynamic of dependency because I know what that's like. I tell people all the time, one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my entire life was get off government assistance. It is a very, very hard thing to do because the threshold for support, it's like you're $1 over the threshold and you lose everything. So it makes you say, well, let me stay under the threshold so I can stay a little bit dependent. I was not about to recreate that experience with people who were giving to me. So I turned them into sources of income as opposed to people that I depended on or people that I'm
handouts or
handouts. It's like, no. This is a source of income. And I appreciate this source of income. Wonderful. More where that came from.
The power of perspective.
Listen, it'll change everything.
Ladies, is this good stuff or is this good stuff? My gosh, I took so many notes. I so appreciate absorbing rich content. And if we have anything in common, chances are you do as well, which is why you must tune in next week for part 2 of this conversation. You definitely do not want to miss it. So until then, remember that I love you, I see you, and I want you to win. Bye for now. I know firsthand how challenging this personal development journey can be. It can feel lonely, confusing, overwhelming, and even difficult to know exactly where to start. That is why I created an amazing resource for you. Go to IamAchie.com to download a free audio training that discusses the top 2 things you should focus on as you begin or continue your journey to shifting your mindset. Yep, only 2 things. I like to keep it simple and actionable. Again, that's IamAchie.com. And also, if you enjoyed today's episode, I have a favor to ask of you. My goal is to get this podcast in front of as many women as possible. The things I discuss are the things I wish someone would have told me when I began this journey. So in order to do that, please take a few seconds to share this episode with a friend and leave a 5-star review. Don't forget to subscribe so you can get notified when I release new episodes. I love you, I see you, and I'm rooting for you. Bye for now.